In the heart of the Middle East, nestled between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea, lies a region known today as Palestine. Its history is a tapestry woven from the threads of countless civilizations, each contributing to its rich and diverse heritage. The earliest known inhabitants of this region were the Canaanites, who established themselves around 3000 BCE. Their settlements dotted the landscape, with city-states like Jericho emerging as significant centers of trade and culture. Jericho, in particular, holds the distinction of being one of the world's oldest continuously inhabited cities. As centuries rolled on, Palestine's strategic location made it a coveted prize for emerging empires. The Egyptians, under pharaohs like Thutmose III, extended their influence into Canaan, leaving behind records of military campaigns and tributes. The famous Merneptah stele, dating back to 1209 BCE, even mentions Israel, indicating the presence of an early Israelite entity in the region. However, Egyptian dominance was soon challenged by other powers. The Assyrians, under kings like Tiglath-Pileser III and Sennacherib, swept through Palestine, incorporating it into their vast empire. Their reign was marked by a systematic approach to administration and a penchant for deporting and resettling conquered populations. The Babylonians, under King Nebuchadnezzar II, were the next to assert control. Their conquest in the 6th century BCE led to the destruction of the First Temple in Jerusalem and the exile of a significant portion of the Jewish population to Babylon. But empires rise and fall. The Persians, under Cyrus the Great, defeated the Babylonians and allowed the exiled Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild their temple. Under Persian rule, the region enjoyed relative autonomy, with local leaders managing affairs under the broader Persian administrative framework. The arrival of Alexander the Great in the 4th century BCE brought Hellenistic influence to Palestine. After Alexander's death, his vast empire was divided among his generals, leading to the Ptolemaic and Seleucid dynasties vying for control over the region. This period saw the rise of cities like Gaza, which became significant Hellenistic centers. The Maccabean revolt in the 2nd century BCE was a defining moment during the Seleucid rule, leading to the establishment of the Hasmonean dynasty. This Jewish kingdom managed to maintain its independence for nearly a century before the Roman general Pompey intervened, incorporating Judea into the Roman Republic. Under Roman rule, the region underwent significant changes. Herod the Great, appointed as the king of Judea, embarked on massive construction projects, including the renovation of the Second Temple. However, tensions between the Jewish population and Roman authorities were frequent, leading to multiple revolts and, eventually, the renaming of the region to Syria Palestina, after the Bar Kokhba revolt in the 2nd century CE. As the narrative unfolds, the layers of history in Palestine reveal a land that has been both a crossroads and a crucible, shaping and being shaped by the ebb and flow of time and empires. As the Roman grip on the region tightened, the dynamics of Palestine began to shift. The destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE by the Roman legions under General Titus was not just an architectural loss. It marked a profound socio-cultural and political upheaval. This event, coupled with the suppression of the Bar Kokhba revolt 6 decades later, led to significant changes in the demographics and character of the region. The Jewish communities, which had been central to the region's identity for centuries, found themselves dispersed. This dispersion, known as the diaspora, saw Jewish communities spread across the vast stretches of the Roman Empire, from the Iberian Peninsula in the west to the Mesopotamian plains in the east. They carried with them their traditions, beliefs, and an enduring connection to their ancestral homeland. But while the Jewish diaspora is often highlighted, It's crucial to remember that Palestine's tapestry was woven from many threads. The region wasn't just home to Jews. Over the centuries, it had seen the influx of various tribes and peoples, each bringing their own customs and beliefs. The Samaritans, for instance, maintained their distinct religious practices in the region. Similarly, with the advent of Christianity, a significant Christian community began to take root in Palestine, particularly in cities like Bethlehem and Nazareth, which held special significance in Christian theology. By the 7th century, a new chapter was set to begin. The rapid expansion of the Islamic caliphates brought Palestine under Muslim rule. The Umayyad Caliphate, with its capital in nearby Damascus, introduced Islam to the region. The iconic Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, constructed during this period, stand testament to the Islamic influence on Jerusalem's landscape. Under successive Muslim dynasties, from the Umayyads and Abbasids to the Fatimids, Ayyubids and Mamluks, Palestine became an integral part of the Islamic world. The region saw an influx of Arab tribes, leading to a gradual Arabization of Palestine. Cities like Ramla, established by the Umayyads, thrived as commercial and administrative centers. However, the winds of change were constant companions to Palestine. The Crusades of the 11th to 13th centuries saw European Christian armies venture into the region, establishing Crusader states and briefly capturing Jerusalem. Though the Crusader presence was eventually rolled back by Muslim forces under leaders like Salah ad-Din, it added yet another layer to Palestine's complex history. Over the subsequent centuries, Palestine found itself under the rule of various empires, from the Mamluks to the Ottomans. Trade routes crisscrossed the region, and pilgrims of the three Abrahamic faiths continued to tread its paths, seeking connection with their spiritual roots. The migrations and movements within and outside Palestine were not just about conquests and rulers. They were about the people, traders, scholars, farmers, and artisans who carried with them stories, traditions, and innovations. They settled, integrated, and sometimes moved on, but each left an indelible mark on the land. As the 20th century dawned, global events were set to once again reshape Palestine, bringing with them new challenges and realities. The stories of the past, while distinct, were about to converge in ways that would redefine the region's future. When the sands of the 20th century began to shift, the world found itself on the brink of unprecedented change. The embers of nationalism, colonial ambitions, and geopolitical maneuverings were about to ignite fires that would touch every corner of the globe, and Palestine was no exception. The decline of the Ottoman Empire, which had held sway over Palestine for centuries, coincided with the rise of European imperial powers. The First World War became the stage for these powers to redraw the map of the Middle East. The secret Sykes-Picot Agreement between Britain and France envisioned a post-war division of Ottoman territories, setting the stage for British control over Palestine. But the British had made promises that would prove difficult to reconcile. The Balfour Declaration of 1917, a letter from British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour to Lord Rothschild, expressed Britain's support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This declaration was seen by the Zionist movement, which had emerged in the late 19th century in Europe, as a significant endorsement of their aspirations. The movement, founded by Theodor Herzl, aimed to address the widespread persecution of Jews, especially in Europe, by establishing a homeland in Palestine. However, the local Arab majority viewed the increasing Jewish immigration with apprehension. They feared the loss of their land and identity. The British, attempting to navigate these complex and often conflicting promises, found themselves in a quagmire of rising tensions and periodic outbreaks of violence. The horrors of the Second World War intensified the urgency of the Jewish quest for a homeland. The Holocaust, a genocide in which 6 million Jews were exterminated by the Nazi regime, left an indelible scar on the collective Jewish psyche. The world, reeling from the revelations of the concentration camps and the scale of the atrocities, found itself more sympathetic to the cause of a Jewish state. Post-war Britain, unable to find a solution to the conflicting nationalistic aspirations in Palestine, handed the issue over to the newly formed United Nations. In 1947, the UN proposed the partition of Palestine into separate Jewish and Arab states, with Jerusalem as an international city. This plan was accepted by the Jewish leadership but rejected by the Arab side, leading to increased hostilities. In 1948, in the shadow of these tensions and against the backdrop of the departing British, David Ben-Gurion declared the establishment of the State of Israel. The joy of this moment for the Jewish community was juxtaposed with the profound apprehension and resistance from the Palestinian Arabs and neighboring Arab states. Almost immediately, armies from Egypt, Syria, Jordan, and Iraq moved in, marking the beginning of the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. The aftermath of this war saw Israel not only survive but expand its territories. However, it also marked the beginning of the Palestinian refugee crisis, with hundreds of thousands of Palestinians displaced from their homes. The mid-20th century, with its blend of hope, conflict, and displacement, set the stage for a series of events that would further shape the destinies of both Israelis and Palestinians. The land, with its millennia of history, was once again at the crossroads of change, with the echoes of the past intertwining with the uncertainties of the future. The mid-20th century was a tumultuous period for Palestine. The establishment of Israel had fundamentally altered the region's dynamics. The 1948 war had left deep scars, with borders redrawn and populations displaced. But the tensions, far from subsiding, simmered beneath the surface, waiting for a spark. The 1950s and early 1960s saw a series of skirmishes, reprisals, and political maneuverings. The Cold War added another layer of complexity, with the USA and USSR backing different players in the Middle East. The Suez Crisis of 1956 was a testament to the region's strategic importance, with global powers deeply invested in its outcomes. However, it was the events leading up to 1967 that would once again thrust Palestine into the spotlight. The Six-Day War, as it would come to be known, was a defining moment in the region's history. A combination of geopolitical tensions, territorial disputes, and mutual distrust set the stage for a conflict that would reshape the Middle East. In June 1967, Israel, perceiving an imminent threat from its neighbors, launched a preemptive strike. What followed was a rapid series of maneuvers and battles. In just 6 days, Israel managed to capture the Gaza Strip and the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt, the West Bank and East Jerusalem from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from Syria. The aftermath of the war was profound. Israel's territorial gains significantly expanded its borders, but it also brought with it the responsibility of governing large Palestinian populations. The war, while a military victory for Israel, laid the groundwork for decades of political challenges, debates over occupation, and questions about the rights and futures of the Palestinian people. The Six-Day War, like so many events in Palestine's history, was a juncture of hope, despair, triumph, and tragedy. It encapsulated the complexities of a land that has, for millennia, been both a homeland and a battleground, a place of dreams and of nightmares. As the dust settled, the world looked on, knowing that the story of Palestine and its people was far from over. The tapestry of its history, woven from countless threads of joy, sorrow, victory, and defeat, continues to unfold, reminding us of the enduring spirit of a land and its people. If you enjoyed this historical journey, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Each new viewer ignites our drive to share more tales from the past. Thank you.